Alright, I got one on the bed. Let's see how long it takes. Hey, what's up, guys? So we had a pretty good day out on the water. We did some bed fishing, some sight fishing. You guys know I love doing that. I want to give an update. We purchased live scope. I did try and do a little bed fishing with live scope like Scott Martin does, and I wasn't successful with it, unfortunately. However, I was successful when the sight fishing portion of the trip came along, and I gave up on the live scope. However, when I caught this fish today, there's a few gentlemen that approached me and they had some questions. What'd you do to get that, to make that fish bite? How'd you do it? I seen you move around 3-4 times, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna throw you guys a couple bones. When you're out there sight fishing and you got these big fish on these beds, the first thing that I do is confirm that fish is stuck. The number one thing is you don't want to waste your time. You don't want to sit there and waste your time on a fish that is finicky, that doesn't want to lock, or it doesn't go back to this same spot over and over again. That fish is not locked on. She might be in that area because there's a lot of males, there's a lot of shiners, there's a lot of food in that area, there's other fish spawning in that area. She might be in that area looking, but you want the fish that's stuck. Today when I approached the first bed, it was on the end of a pad tussock, and it was a little different. I've seen them on the end of pad tussocks, but this one was very visible, like very, very visible. Usually they're very kind of inconspicuous when they're on the end of the pad tussocks. The female immediately jetted off. I thought to myself, all right, maybe if I get the male out of there, we can do something with the female, see if she'll come back. So I got the male out of there, and he was about 2.5-3 pounds maybe. Had a gut on him, full of shiners, which tells me another thing, that they were ready. They were doing their business. When the shiners are present and the shiners are around and in and around the bed, that means the spawning's going on. That means there's eggs floating around and stuff like that the shiners are eating. So I seen him, he's full of shiners. I waited around about 15-20 minutes. She never showed her face again. I seen her out behind the boat a few times, and that was it. I kind of gave up and started looking. That's what I took. I want to go back and say that fish might have been doing the business with that fish, but she was not stuck. When they're stuck, she'll immediately replace that male and guard that bed. So that fish was not stuck. I trolled down a little further, and I came across 2 big ones. The male, he had to have been every bit of 5 pounds. I mean, he was a decent sized male. He was lighter in color. And then the big female. Now to make these fish bite, I had to position myself 4 or 5 different times. I tried, away from them, 30 feet away, watching them on live scope, get them to react to baits on live scope. Sometimes they would react to it. I did get a couple bites on the live scope, but it was never a full-blown taking the bait and let's set the hook. Like I said, I positioned myself 3 or 4 times. I finally got into a position where they started doing stuff. You'll position yourself enough after the first 2 or 3 spots that you try. Eventually you'll run into a spot where, okay, now they're either comfortable with you being there, they know you're not going nowhere, you've been there for a minute, you're stalking them, whatever, blah, 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 or they can't see you. Now, I positioned myself 4 or 5 different times, and I think I finally got in a spot when they couldn't see me. They started reacting to the bait more. They started turning sideways, checking it out, nudging it, picking it up a few times. There's some things that I like to do. I'll try a couple different baits, but the first thing that I'll do is, believe it or not, this sounds stupid, I'll pick up a panorama or something that resembles bait fish in the area and kind of egg them on, get them started, piss them off. That's once they're pissed off and they're doing stuff, they were picking up the panorama and they were taking it 5 feet and moving with it and hitting it real hard, getting it off the bed. And then eventually I started picking up some other things. And one thing that I do go for, the number one bait, believe it or not, I'm a gambler guy across the board, but I gotta say I pick up the bandito bug. For some reason, that little bug, when it's down there and all the little limbs are shaking, they just can't stand it. Well, these 2 fish didn't even look at it. Like, they had either seen it already today or they had seen it previously, they didn't even look at it. So I remember a previous video that was put up on Facebook. I picked up a Komodo. This is actually the exact bait that she ate, the exact hook. She unwound it all and everything. The hook fell out when I got her in the boat. I like to use 65-pound braid. Don't be scared. When that fish is in gear mode and she's ready to eat something, she's gonna eat it regardless. So I use 65-pound braid, make sure they don't pop the line, come off. This is a Phoenix Feather 7.7 extra heavy with a cast king, I don't even know. But however, like I said, you got to make them comfortable. You got to move around. You got to, you know, sometimes they might require you to be completely out of sight. The first one that I caught in that last video, I had to be pretty much out of sight. I had to camouflage myself. I moved myself from out in the middle of the canalway that we were in. I moved myself on top of the lily pad, so I was pretty much camouflaged. You know, at that point, she's where'd he go, where'd he go? So these fish today were a little different. They were probably a little bit more pressured. Probably had somebody already throw something at them today. There was quite a few boats in the area. Like I said, I had a few guys approach me. How'd you do this? How'd you do that? Well, hopefully this gives you a little bit of rundown. Like I said, the camouflage, switching lures, and piss them off. If they're stationary, the biggest thing is the stationary part. If they're not stationary, the chances are you're not going to catch them. But yeah, this video should cover that. It should help you out. You know, those tips that I just gave you should help you out a lot. If you're out there fishing the spawn, you got these fish on beds that are real finicky and you can never figure them out. If you apply those 4 things, I promise you it'll work out and you'll start landing some big fish. With all that being said, we had a good day. My dog thought that the lily pads were hard land and he decided to take a jump. He first time he's ever jumped in the lake. That was a new experience for me. And like I said, we got live scope. I plan on dropping some videos once I get the gist of that down and understand more of what I'm looking at. I obviously know what I'm looking at when it comes to fishing my lure in there, but when they take off, and I'm gonna come out and say I was one of the guys that always hated live scope, and I'm gonna put this on YouTube and you guys can bash me all you want. Live scope is hard. It is hard. I'm a very skilled fisherman. As you guys can see, I catch a lot of big fish. Live scope is hard. It takes, making them bite is not easy. Those guys that can do it and make them bite every single time, they got some skill. I'll give it to you. You got some skill. So like I said, guys, enjoy this video. Pick you up some Komodos from Gambler, pick you up some panoramas, pick you up some bandito bugs, pick you up some lizards. Lizards are good too, but like I said, you might want to give them something they haven't seen. Tight lines, baby. Enjoy this video. All right, I got one on the bed. Let's see how long it takes. That's the male. Look at that fatty, dude. Look at him peeing everywhere. Oh yeah. Look at that fucking donkey right there, son. That's a 10-pounder. Look at that one. Yeah, let me get her in the well. Oh, I got one. Yeah. Move, Scout. All right, boys and girls, I got another giant in the live well. Let's see if we can get her out without losing her. Move. Whew. That's a giant, dude. Absolute toad. That's a 10-pounder. Let's see. I'll give her. I'll give it to her. I'll give it to her. Oh yeah. Ah. 9-8. 9-8. 9-8. It's a giant, dude. That's a giant. Ah. Absolute toad, son. Absolute chungus. Absolute giant.